I was kind of going through a period that I was having a struggle with hopelessness.
Oh, okay.
And it was just really, the world is just in a dark place.
Yeah.
Why did Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was rescued by onlookers, die after receiving treatment from the Red Cross?
Then let's go to the date he actually died on, which is July 20th, which is the 201st day of the year. Yeah, can anybody tell me why The Cosby Show ran for a total of 8 seasons, equaling 201 episodes?
They have to let us know before they make their move. That's the law of the universe, an unspoken rule passed around by conspiracy theorists. Before every major incident, the puppeteers always leave behind a signal of warning, and this time, the warning was aimed at Malcolm Jamal Warner, once beloved across America for his role in The Cosby Show. His name is now whispered in disbelief because he's gone. His body resting in the depths of the ocean, once a devoted father. A man who once said his daughter was the miracle he had prayed for. Malcolm is now making headlines again. This time with a tragic and almost unbelievable ending. The problem is, everything happened too fast, too unexpectedly, and far too suspiciously. They're calling it an accident. But behind the weight of official explanations lie dozens of unanswered questions. Questions that send chills down the spine of anyone who hears them. And today, you won't just be hearing this story again, you'll be walking with us through each hidden layer, peeling back the mask to uncover the truth behind the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. A truth that, perhaps, no one wants you to know. July 20th, a day that seemed ordinary, but turned out to be a day of destiny for Malcolm Jamal Warner. It was the 201st day of the year, a number that seems unremarkable at first glance, but eerily coincides with the number of episodes in The Cosby Show, the very series that made Malcolm a household name, exactly 101 episodes. That was the first detail that raised eyebrows among his fans. Was it just a random coincidence or a coded message? The media reported that Malcolm died while trying to save his daughter from a riptide at a beach in Costa Rica. The story spread like wildfire. Headlines, social media, and news broadcasts all echoed the same tale. He was a heroic father who sacrificed his life to save his young daughter. A touching, beautiful image, almost a perfect not to raise suspicion. But then, just a few days later, the narrative changed. Major outlets started issuing corrections. They said, actually, Malcolm's daughter wasn't in the water at all. She was standing safely on the shore. And no one knows why Malcolm went into the ocean by himself in a notoriously dangerous area with clear warning signs and no lifeguards in sight. Why would a cautious father, known for putting family above everything else, bring his 8-year-old daughter to such a perilous place and then take his eyes off her to dive into deadly waters alone?
So even before conception, we were very clear we were having a girl. And I knew that I needed a girl first to kind of ease me into it, because I have a pretty good idea of what kind of father I would be. So I needed a girl to kind of, slow me down and warm, soften me up, if you will. So for me, raising my daughter, I came into fatherhood already with a certain maturity and certain understanding of male-female dynamics. And with a girl, all of that starts with the father. So I've always, since I literally pulled her out of my wife.
This was no longer a simple accident. This was a rewritten script, and it was rewritten sloppily. A lie someone wanted us to believe, only to rush in and change it again as if nothing had ever been said. But with inconsistencies like this, anyone paying attention can't help but ask, what exactly is being covered up? Malcolm Jamal Warner wasn't the reckless or careless type. Quite the opposite, he was widely known as a man of deep responsibility, a family man in the truest sense, and even a little old-fashioned in his values. He appeared on many talk shows, interviews, and podcasts, speaking about fatherhood not with empty catchphrases, but with real insight, heartfelt experiences, and genuine emotion.
I met my wife through a mutual friend. I've never second-guessed it. We've been together almost 10 years, and we have never had a fight, an argument, a raised voice, or a harsh word said to one
In
another.
10 years?
I was like, if I'm going to have a kid, this is the person that I would want to have it with. I talk about them because I There are obviously the hugest parts of my life, the best parts of my life, the best decisions I've ever made.
In one especially touching conversation, Malcolm once said he had prayed to have a little girl. Not just to have a child, but specifically a daughter. He believed having a daughter would make him softer, more patient, and help him become the ideal father. He even delivered his daughter himself. "I pulled her out with my own hands," he said proudly, with a gleam in his eye. So ask yourself, could a man like that, a man who placed his family above all else, who reportedly never raised his voice to his wife throughout their decade-long marriage, really take his daughter to a dangerous beach, then leave her alone to dive into a deadly sea? No way. That scenario doesn't line up with who he was. It doesn't fit the life he lived. If the corrected media reports are to be believed and his daughter wasn't in the water, then where exactly was she while Malcolm was drowning in those violent waves, sitting alone on the beach in a foreign country with no mother, no relatives? That's not just absurd, it completely contradicts the nature of the man. Malcolm had always shown himself to be both on screen and off.
So this is the beach where all this unfolded, but really, as soon as you get here, even before you get onto the beachhead, you can see some warning signs for people who are coming to enjoy the day here. It says Corrientes de Resaca todo el año. Basically warning people there is a current here throughout the year. You can see there are warnings for surfers, there's warnings about wave conditions, and then take a look at this massive sign says you can survive a rip current. Clearly, they're warning people about the conditions that can develop, and unfortunately, the conditions appear to have pulled out Malcolm Jamal Warner over the weekend.
And if someone went to such lengths to rewrite the narrative, to frame this as a noble death to hide something else, then maybe this wasn't just an accident at all. Malcolm had received a warning, not from the media, not from outsiders or conspiracy forums, but from a brother, a close friend, Eddie Griffin, in a private conversation. Eddie bluntly told Malcolm, "You're to clean for this game. They're gonna come for you."
There's no criminal charge.
There is a systematic effort to destroy every black male entertainer's image. Nobody leaves this business clean.
At the time, no one fully grasped the weight of those words. Maybe Malcolm just laughed it off, thinking his friend was joking in that exaggerated Hollywood way where everything is dramatized. But for those who've been inside the entertainment industry, especially in the heart of American showbiz, that kind of statement is no joke. It's a real warning. In an environment where values are flipped upside down, where power and money always demand a price, people who are to clean, to honest, or to family-oriented like Malcolm often become targets. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they refuse to play by the unspoken rules set by the powers behind the scenes. Eddie Griffin isn't naive to the dark corners of the entertainment world. He's watched many peers get worn down, pushed out, or even disappear mysteriously when they no longer fit the narrative. That's why Eddie's warning haunts people even more now, after Malcolm's death. It didn't just feel like a gut feeling, it became a prophecy. Imagine being warned by a friend that something bad is coming. You don't know exactly what. You just feel something's off, and then, months later, you die under mysterious circumstances. What's really going on behind the scenes? Did someone actually come for him? Just like the warning said, when you start paying attention to the details, what once seemed random begins to look disturbingly deliberate. For Malcolm Jamal Warner, the numbered 101 suddenly becomes the focal point of his death, a kind of hidden signature that you wouldn't notice unless you were connecting the dots. He died on July 20th, a day that, at first, seems unremarkable. But for those paying attention, that day marks the 201st day of the year. And if you were a fan of The Cosby Show, the very show that launched Malcolm into stardom, you'd know it wrapped up after exactly 101 episodes. Not one more, not one less. If you're someone who believes in coincidences, maybe this means nothing. But if you believe there's a shadow world behind the entertainment industry run by symbols, signals, and numbers, then this isn't just a fluke, it's a message. A ritual. In that world, numbers aren't just numbers. They're codes, the secret language of the puppet masters, and the numbered 101, tied to both Malcolm's career and his date of death, sends a chilling signal. Could this be someone's way of marking his death as the official end of a journey that was predetermined from the beginning? It's often said that major deaths in showbiz are never simple. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince, and now Malcolm, all of them left behind strange clues. Unanswered questions, but only a few cases leave behind signs so bold, so eerie, that you have to ask, is someone leaving breadcrumbs on purpose? If that's the case, then 101 isn't just a number. It's a reminder that nothing is ever truly random, and in this game, those who are to clean rarely get a happy ending. The moment news of Malcolm Jamal Warner's death broke, Hollywood went oddly silent. There were no heartfelt tweets from A-list stars, no emotional tributes from co-stars or producers. The people who worked with him, cast members from The Cosby Show, executives, longtime collaborators, virtually said nothing. A strange, cold silence covered the entire industry. For a veteran actor, someone who had been a television icon for years, his passing should have sparked headlines, memorials, specials recounting his life and work, but instead, his death was boxed into a few dry news blurbs, then quietly swept under the rug, as if someone wanted it buried and forgotten. Even stranger was how major media outlets flipped their narrative. First, they said Malcolm died trying to save his daughter, then they said that wasn't true. No apology, no explanation for such a massive error. Then, just like that, the story disappeared, replaced by other clickbait headlines, as if it had never happened. This is bizarre in a world where the media loves to expose and exploit. But when every major news source stays quiet, dodges, rewrites, and refuses to own up, then you know something bigger is going on. There's a force behind the curtain, a hidden hand deciding what gets said and what gets buried. And in Malcolm's case, it seems the truth doesn't lie on the surface. It's been hidden, blurred. Because if it were revealed, a lot of people might have to answer questions they don't want asked. Malcolm Jamal Warner isn't the first, and won't be the last person to die under strange circumstances at a time when his career was solid. His personal life was thriving, and there were no visible signs of struggle. In the entertainment world, the list of controversial deaths keeps growing, and each time, the same question echoes. Why them, and why do these stories all feel eerily similar? Look back, and you'll see the pattern. Michael Jackson, who spoke out against the music industry, suddenly died of a drug overdose. Whitney Houston, who once revealed how she was manipulated behind the scenes, was found dead in a luxury hotel bathtub. Then came Prince, Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, and now Malcolm. What did they all have in common? They were all prominent figures. They had reached massive fame, and they had either spoken up or were about to reveal something big. It's not just about their deaths, it's about how those deaths unfolded. Always sudden, always containing coincidental details, and always followed by confusing, vague media coverage. Like a template being reused, only the names and settings are changed to throw people off the scent. If you follow these deaths closely, you'll notice a shared blueprint. Before they died, the victims often showed signs of unease. Sometimes they were labeled as mentally unstable. Then the media would spin a story that seemed logical: a tragic accident, depression, or substance abuse. Stories believable enough to satisfy the masses, but not enough to convince those digging for the real truth. In Malcolm's case, the biggest red flag is this: why change the narrative at all? Why rewrite the story for someone who had no scandal, no enemies, no debts? Could it be that, precisely because he didn't fit into the game, he had to be removed from it? Once again, we're left staring at the core question: is there a power out there deciding who gets to live, who must be taken out, and how the audience will be convinced that it was all just an accident? If you've made it this far, ask yourself, why are there so many coincidences surrounding Malcolm Jamal Warner's death? Why would a man who loved his family, lived with integrity, and stayed far from drama suddenly die at the peak of both his personal and professional life? Why do the facts keep shifting, while the core questions never get answered? You see, in the glamorous world of showbiz, what you see on stage is just the surface. Behind the lights is another stage entirely, where those in power decide who gets to shine, who gets torn down, and who vanishes without a trace. Malcolm may have been a victim of that system. A death staged as a tragic accident, rewritten by the media according to a pre-approved script. And you, the audience, only get to hear what they want you to hear. But if Malcolm left us with anything, it's this: the truth can't stay buried forever. And we, the ones left behind, have the right to ask questions, to be skeptical, and to seek the truth, even if it's hard to swallow. So, if this video gave you a different perspective, don't hesitate. Share it. Let others see the darker side of what the world wants you to believe is just an accident. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this was a tragic coincidence or part of a bigger power game? And if you want to keep digging into the hidden truths behind stories the world wants to forget, hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't just a place to repeat the news. This is where we dig deep to the very bones of the truth they don't want you to know. We'll see you in the next video where secrets aren't taboo, they're meant to be exposed.